Hi, it's Rosy here, and welcome to my YouTube channel and blog, Pretty Little Button. So let's get started using mixed media. If you've never dabbled in mixed media, this is a great way to start, just playing about, messing about, and having some fun with some abstract backgrounds. I'm combining it with some embossing powders and glitter to add that little bit of sparkle and shine. For the first card, I've already trimmed my panel down because I want to make sure that I don't need to trim that later on and ruin my abstract background. And I'm using some embossing paste. I've got Altenew's embossing paste here, it's white. There are a variety of different embossing pastes on the market, so just use any that you have to hand. And then I'm using a spatula just to smudge some of this on. Now I didn't want to add too thick a layer. Now the thicker the layer, obviously the more texture and dimension you'll get, but the longer it will take for that embossing paste to dry. So once I'm happy with that first splodge, I'm just covering the pot and just placing the spatula in a wet wipe just to keep it wet whilst I'm doing the next part of the process. So I'm covering this with Hibiscus embossing glitter. This comes from Tracy Scott. It's inspired by her. It's a lovely, beautiful fuchsia pink with some embossing glitter in it as well. Now because embossing paste is wet and sticky, the embossing powder and glitter will stick to it. Now I'm just giving it a really good covering, going around all the outsides and edges because it's dimensional. You've got that paste on the outside, but you want to coat as well. And then I'm just tapping off any excess or wiping away any excess. Now I'm not going to heat set it yet. I want to add some more sort of smudges first, and I've rotated the card just to make the smudge going a different way. Doing exactly the same, applying a layer and smoothing that out towards one side, getting a bit of dimension, and then I'm covering it with Picket. Again from Tracy Scott, a beautiful navy glitter, embossing glitter. And again, just doing that, making sure I'm really giving it a good coverage. And I'm going over several times, so if there's any white bits that I can see, I'm making sure that I'm covering it with that embossing glitter. Now I'm tipping it off in the opposite direction to the splodge above, because I don't want any of that glitter to contaminate the pink one. Then I'm just finishing off the last part of the panel, so I'm doing 3 splodges down the bottom, again rotating it, just giving it a bit of variation. And then I'm covering it in Icicle Teal from Martina. And this is a lovely, lovely soft teal. Now it did come out sort of around the Christmas release, but you can use it all year round. It pairs beautifully with these other 2 colours, and I really love this colour combination. Of course, this being abstract, you can switch it up to whatever colour combos you want, depending on who you're going to be giving it to. It's a completely unisex style card, and you can just change out the colours to what you want. Now because this is embossing glitter, you would normally heat set from the bottom, but remember you've got that embossing paste as well that the heat has to go through, so it will take a very long time for it to heat through the bottom. Because it is embossing paste, it's stuck to, it does hold the glitter on well, so unlike when you're using embossing ink, the glitter doesn't fly off when you heat from the front. Now you could let the embossing paste dry before you heat set. Or if you could do it like myself where I'm heat setting here as it's still wet, it does bubble up, but don't worry, that will flatten down once it's completely dry. I'm going to show you another way of creating an abstract background. This creates a much more thinner layer of embossing paste, so it will dry a lot quicker. And on this time I'm kind of just scraping it really far across using a very thin layer, and I've changed the angle of the palette knife so it gives those scraping effects. So for the first colour I'm going to be using is Blue Skies, which comes from the Independent Trio, with the proceeds going towards Ukraine. This is a lovely blue, and I'm going to heat set this as I go because I want to layer the embossing and the paste. So it's best to heat set it. Now I heat set it, which was great, but it wasn't completely fully dry when I went to do the next bit, and that meant that I got a little bit of scrapage. It's not the end of the world, all I did was just uncover it with the embossing powder and it covered up that mess. So again, just taking that palette knife, scraping it down, overlapping to give some variation, and there you can see I'm starting to peel off some of that previous embossing powder. As I say, it's not the end of the world, I just covered it up with a bit more embossing paste and there we go, nobody would have known. The next colour I'm then covering it with is Methylene Dark Blue. It's a slightly lighter blue than this, even though it says dark blue. It's an opaque embossing powder. Once I've heat set that, I then decided to add one more little abstract scrape, this time in the opposite corner just to give it a bit more interest and variation. And this time I'm using Picket embossing glitter again, And this just gives a little bit of interest to it to just switch up the blues. And this is a really simple abstract background. Very unisex, great for masculine cards. If you never know how to create a card for them and you're unsure as to their style, something abstract like this is very, very generic, very simple, really easy and can suit anybody. Now to finish these cards off, I wanted to add some foiled sentiments using the Fab Foilers. I'm using the Sweet Sentiment Fab Foilers from Natasha in the design team, and then I'm using a selection of Fab Foils. I chose Ice Blue out of all the blues to go with the colours that I'd used, and I was going to use the black backgrounds with the white fonts, and I just chose one, so I trimmed it down so I wasn't going to be foiling the whole panel because I may not want all of those sentiments in that colour. This is a great way of just trimming them up and only foiling the ones you need. I've turned my Minc machine on to heat setting 3 and I'm running this through my foiling machine. And obviously the best bit about foiling, hot foiling, is the peel and reveal. So as I reveal this, you can see that the sentiment isn't that clear initially straight away. That's not a problem, just need some of that foil wiping away, and the best way to do this is with a soft bristle brush. Remember, it's a white sentiment, there's no toner there, so the foil will not stick to it. So if you just brush it away, your sentiment appears crystal clear. So for the other card, I also foiled some sentiments in gold foil. Now I foiled a larger panel because those sentiments I'm quite happy being in gold. I will use them more often in gold. And then I just trimmed down the sentiment that I wanted. I added 3 onto the pink, blue and teal card, just putting each sentiment on each splodge. And again, you can switch this up depending on the occasion as to what you want to put on the front. To finish them off, I then added a few Nouveau drops. I used Liquid Mercury for the one on the right, the more masculine style card. I thought this colour kind of suited the style of card a lot more. Picks up some of that sort of navy silver graphite colour in the peacoat. And then I'd used Morning Dew drops on the pink, blue and teal card. So let me know in the comments below which out of these 2 cards is your favourite. Have you tried giving this a go? Have you done abstract, textured, mixed media cards like this before? Let me know what you think, and if you're new to this channel, why not think about subscribing? You can hit that bell icon and be notified when the next video is up. If you want 10% discount at the Wow Embossing Powder shop, just use the code that you can see on screen. Until next time, happy crafting!